What's up and welcome back to the reading list. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Chimp Paradox, the mind management book by Professor Steve Peters. Now I believe this book here is for anyone in any walk of life who wants to understand how to manage their mind, improve their confidence, reduce stress and chase their dreams. This book really does lay out everything you need to know to improve your life. So this book here was the first book I ever bought in my whole life when I started reading kind of self-development, self-improvement, psychology-based books. So it was December 2016, I was playing for Celtic FC at the time, and I was finding it difficult to manage my emotions. You know, I was finding it difficult to understand the way I was feeling. So if I wasn't playing, or if I wasn't getting selected for a game, or I was on the bench, or I was in the stand, maybe I was being overlooked. I struggled with that. Being a young player, so I was maybe about 16, 17, 18, and obviously at the time I was playing for an under-20s team, so there was boys who were older than me who would maybe play ahead of me, and I found this difficult to kind of digest mentally. So I turned to this book here, and thank God I did, because it was incredible. So I'm going to tell you all about this book and the three components of the human brain, which Professor Stephen talks about. But basically after reading it, I was able to really understand the three components of my brain. And if you're looking for a book which is easy to read and something you want to be able to implement ideas like directly from the moment you read it into everyday life, then this is the book for you. So I always start with my favourite quote from the book. Now this one is a little bit long-winded, but I think it's incredible, and it's one thing since I read this book in 2016 that has stayed with me forever. And it goes like this: if you wake during the night, any thoughts and feelings you might have are from your chimp, and they are often very disturbing, catastrophic and lacking in perspective. In the morning you're likely to regret engaging with these thoughts and feelings because you will see things differently. Now that little passage from the book really rung true with me, because the amount of times I wake up during the night and I maybe panic, I worry, I stress, I catastrophise, it happens a lot. But now when I do it, I realise I'm like, Sam, that is not actually you, that's not the human you thinking, that is the chimp making all this noise. And basically the reason behind this, the science behind this in simple terms, which is easy for me to understand, is that when you wake during the night, your brain is not getting all the blood it would get during the day, so it's not functioning fully, which means the chimp is going crazy when you wake up, and maybe the stresses of the day before, the stresses of the upcoming day run through your mind. And you've probably felt it before, you know, when you wake up and you're like panicking, stressing, catastrophising, and then you fall back asleep again, you wake up in the morning and you think to yourself, why the hell was I thinking like that? Why the hell was I feeling like that? That was nonsense. That is the chimp, and that is the one bit of this book that has stayed with me ever since I read it. So why did I buy this book? I bought this book because when I picked it up, when I read about it initially before I purchased it, at the time I was probably struggling with exactly what it says in the front, my confidence, my success, my happiness, and I wanted to understand how I could better improve or manage my mind. Who wrote it? So the man that wrote this is a man called Professor Steve Peters. He's a psychiatrist and he's worked with some of the biggest sports clubs in the world. For example, Liverpool. He also worked with British men's cycling. So not only is he helping the reader understand the mind, but also if you're a sports person, this book's pretty good. Alright, now let's get stuck into the overview, the kind of overarching points that are made throughout this book. So Professor Peters essentially breaks the brain down into three components. Rather than having the technical names for parts of the brain, he breaks it down into three areas. They're really digestible, they're easy to understand, and it makes this book really readable. It also allows the reader to visualise exactly what the three areas are. So the first one he talks about is the human part of the brain, the second one is the chimp part of the brain, and the third part is the computer part of the brain. So the first part, the human, it's essentially the basis of logical thinking. It's facts and truth, and often we tap into this part of our brain where we are calm and collected and making good judgment decisions. We gather all the facts and information that is available to us, and then we take our course of action, whether it be a decision or something that you do. So for me, a nice example would be, say we heard something that was untrue. Imagine you were having a conversation with someone and they said something and you were like, your brain's going, not sure, your chimp's going, that's a lie, that person is lying, that's not true. But then the human's like, hold on a minute, okay, so hold on a minute, Sam, let's gather these thoughts, let's have a think about this. What do we know? What facts do we know? What information do we know? Puts it together before making a rational decision which is based on facts and evidence and truth, rather than just a snap emotional decision. Which brings us on to the chimp. So the chimp is the emotional machine. I talked about it briefly. When you wake up in the middle of the night and everything's going crazy in the head, that is usually the chimp. So it is emotional thoughts, feelings, sometimes constructive, sometimes destructive. It can be your best friend and your worst enemy. So an example of your chimp in action is when you feel emotional or irrational. When you're angry or distressed, your chimp will take control. If you think about it, If you've ever had an argument, if you're telling me, right, if you're sitting there thinking I've never had an argument, you've got to be lying, or you're just a lovely, lovely person. But, direct example, say you're having an argument, you're going to say a lot of things probably, or some things that you maybe half an hour, 2 hours later regret. And if that's the case, that's when you know you've got the chimp. The chimp is a part of you. So Dr. Peters, interestingly in this book, says, although we're not responsible for the nature of our chimp, we are responsible for managing the chimp within us. And the final section of the brain is the computer. Now, what is the computer? So this one I found really interesting, because it is essentially what the human and what the chimp uses to gather information or make decisions or say something. So the computer is the storage and area and automatic functioning machine of the brain. It can think and act automatically for you using programmed thoughts and behaviours. It is a reference source for information, beliefs and values. Very interesting. So within the computer there are certain characters which Dr. Professor Stevens explains, and essentially these characters are used as a memory bank for making decisions. So the human and the chimp in the brain look to the computer, look to these previous experiences, beliefs, memories that are stored, and then draws the response from those. So essentially, once Professor Stevens has laid out these three components of the brain and given us a really easy to understand and gives the reader something that you can really visualise and also actually acknowledge, because when these three things are described, you actually go into your brain and you think, you know what, I do have those three parts, 100%. Which is really cool. So once the book establishes the three parts of the brain, it goes on to give the reader practical and actionable advice about how to deal with different situations that arise in life. So as I said, it looks at day-to-day functioning, it looks at health, success and happiness. So after exploring the three components, it talks about how to function day to day with these three parts of the brain working together. It then goes on to talk about health, success and happiness. It's a really interesting read, and one that I think you could probably take something from straight away. So the good bits of this book, the book is like making a puzzle. There are lots of small intricate parts, but when they come together, they create an amazing mental image for the reader, which breaks down the inner workings of the brain. Two sections in particular in this book, other than obviously introducing the chimp, the human and the computer, one of the most interesting parts I found was on page 248. And this is from the success, happiness and health part of the book. And it talks about the core moon. The core stands for C, commitment, O, ownership, R, responsibility, and E, excellence. So the core moon principle talks about things that you should do before undertaking a task. So C stands for commitment, following a plan even if you don't feel like it. So it is commitment that will finish the operation. So forget about motivation, commitment to the cause. But listen, the caveat is if something is failing miserably, if you are despising something and you've persevered for a while, if it's detrimental to you, your mind and your health, then maybe you have to reassess whether or not you should stay fully committed. The O stands for ownership, having your own plan. So the ownership section obviously talks about having your own plan, and the reason for this is if someone else is giving you their agenda, if someone else is giving you their plan, more often or not, you're probably not going to take pride in that thing. You're probably not going to function that well or to your best or to the best of your ability. Therefore, the success or whatever you're trying to achieve probably is less likely to happen. So be a big part in whatever plan or agenda that you're going to be working on. This will allow you to function highly and really well, efficiently too. And this will lead to a higher chance, a higher likelihood of success of whatever it is, whatever task you're about to undertake. R stands for responsibility. So being accountable for your actions and also being disciplined in what you're doing or trying to achieve. Responsibility, so that accountability and that discipline. So carrying out the plan, the execution of it, and the self-discipline, similar to commitment, turning up in the days where you don't feel like it. And E stands for excellence, high achievable goal setting. Don't be an idiot, don't set goals that are ridiculously high, because that is just going to lead you to failing and crashing and burning, okay? Aim high, obviously, of course, push yourself, but be logical. Use the human part of your brain for this bit. Be logical. Set logical, high, achievable goals. The other amazing section of this book is goals and dreams. Now it defines goals and dreams as two very separate things. A dream would be to achieve a good sleeping pattern, alright? Now anyone can write this down, anyone can think about it and can dream it, but what are the goals? What are the things you're going to do to achieve that dream? And Professor Stevens in his book tells us this, is learning about and implementing sleep hygiene, so good sleeping habits, and learning about and being realistic about what sleep you actually need. So essentially dreams are the bigger target that we reach and aim for, and the goals are the things that we can do on a daily, weekly, monthly and yearly basis to help us achieve those dreams. Always remember that. I think it's really, really important to have processes that you can implement, do, achieve fairly easily, and they will allow you to reach the bigger target, the bigger goal, the bigger outcome that you want to focus on. If you like the sound of the Chimp Paradox, then you should go and get your hands on it. It is an amazing book. And if you're someone like me who wants to understand their mind and learn how to manage it, this book will certainly kickstart you on your way to managing your mind, your emotions, your confidence, and your happiness. And as always, if you want to chat to me about books, then just email me. My email is in the description below. Now, the next book in the reading list is something really, really interesting. It's a little bit different about, rather than understanding your own emotions and the mind, it talks about how you can influence the world around you, how you can communicate better, build better relationships, and understand those around you. If you haven't already, go back and check out I Used to Be a Miserable Fuck and Man's Search for Meaning. Those two books are incredible as well. Two of my favourites, all-time favourites. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next video. So I just wanted to quickly say this is a little impromptu end to the reading list video. It is going to stop after this book here. So I'm going to be back with the next 3 books, the final 3 books in the reading list series in a couple of months' time. But in the meantime, there's going to be a little change in content on the channel. I hope you do enjoy it.